well-conceived business, the place health and wellness practitioners come to create businesses that deliver both profit and peace. Let's dive in.
Oh, I'm so excited for this episode because I know that it's going to be helpful for so many people, especially as it's 2024, as we discussed last week. People are being a lot more discerning with their funds. So you might have an online business and you're asking, where do I invest my funds? Like, what is the next thing? If I've got this finite amount of money that I have to invest in my business, what am I going to do? Where am I going to spend it? Where is it going to best provide me with a return on investment? So if that is you, this episode is all for you. Now, quick reminder that if you have not been listening to the last couple of episodes, we have a sale that is starting on the 20th of May. And the reason why I'm giving you advance notice is because each offer in our sale is going to only run for 24 hours and it's going to run for 5 days from the 20th of May. That's in a few days. So what you want to do is make sure you're on my email list so that you get notified about that. We're going to be offering loads of really juicy and cool things that are not typically for sale in my product suite. So we have my signature program, Launch Easy Life, and we have the Well Conceived Mastermind. They don't really go on sale, but I have several smaller products and other bespoke things that only become available at certain times during the year for like quick flash sales, etc. And so if you think that you might like to learn in a particular area, nail down one kind of thing, then you're going to have to stay tuned and watch out for this sale. So it starts on the 20th of May. It's going to go for 5 days. Each offer is only going to be available like one per day and each offer for 24 hours. So make sure you're on my email list, launcheasylife.com/grow, so that each day you'll find out about the offers, and also potentially follow me on Instagram at Robyn Birkin, where I'll also speak a little bit more to the offers. So let's dive in today. We are talking about invest in this, not that. So I suppose, as you can see, I had my fertility business. I've then now launched this brand, Launch Easy Life, and I've worked in marketing for nearly 25 years. And so I have had my fair share of investing. As I spoke to a couple of weeks ago, I've had big budgets, I've had really, really tiny budgets, all manner in between. I've had like 30 something $1,000 website builds, you name it, I've done it. And if you are a service provider, if you're starting, is what I'll start with. But then if you are growing and scaling, then I'll speak to that. But this is my recommendation about where you should spend your money. And I just want to first, before we start, remind everyone that number one, back in the day, before Facebook ads, before Instagram, before any kind of social media, if you wanted to have a business, let's say you were a dietitian or a naturopath or any kind of profession and wanted to advertise your business, you probably would have had to get a bricks and mortar space, pay rent, get signage, put out newspaper ads in the local newspaper, put out flyers and sit and walk them around the street to grow your business. We are now so blessed that in order to start a business, we don't need to take out giant loans. We have free and incredible advertising platforms such as Instagram. We have really cost effective advertising mediums such as Facebook and Meta ads, Google AdWords. People say to me that growing a business is so hard these days, or they're like, I couldn't possibly invest any money in my business. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, my thought is you don't know how freaking good it is right now compared to what it used to be in the olden days, right? In the olden days. Sounds like I'm 100. Anyway, honestly though, this is the best time to launch and have an online business, honestly, because there is so much opportunity at your fingertips. So when people shy away from investing, I'm always like, no, sometimes a little bit of healthy investment in your business can be a really, really good thing. Before I even started my business, I invested nearly $2,500 for 6 weeks with someone who was like an acquaintance slash friend through other circles and networks, where I was kind of like, what do I talk about? What's possible? And just wanted to sort of be in her sphere to understand a little bit more about her business. And then in 2018, when I was like, I'm going to have a business, I don't want to go back to my part time job, I invested $4,000 like that in a business coach for just 8 weeks. I was like, she looks like the real deal. I'm going to invest with her. But I also invested, which I don't think I've talked about previously, in a few other things. I invested in a branding package with an incredible graphic designer who I have love heart eyes for. I did invest in business cards. And then that was like at the very end of 2017 that I invested in that. And then I worked with the business coach who was like, no, you should do infertility. And then all of that branding got scrapped. So go me. But that was sort of what I did in my business. So when people are like, oh, I'm just starting my business, I can't spend any money. I'm like, well, at least you don't have, like, imagine if you wanted to open a coffee shop, you have to rent the space, you have to do up the space, you have to get the coffee machines, you have to hire the staff for like $5 product, right? In online business, if you're starting as a life coach, naturopath, lash technician, whatever it is, oh my goodness, seriously, it's a great time. But in hindsight, knowing what I know now, having worked in all of these businesses, here's what I'm going to tell you about if you're starting and then about if you're growing. So, if you are starting your business, if I went back in time, what I would do, and so the context to this, I'm pretty sure as well, is that Canva had not launched when I launched my business. So that was why I went out to someone to create the logo and business card and all of those things. But we now have Canva. So I would not, if I had my time again, go through and get a graphic designer to do my logos and everything like that. I would not get someone to do my website either, because you can do all of that yourself. Actually, I find really important to learn how to do that yourself, because otherwise you will get ripped off by someone down the line. And also, I had a client once in the mastermind who was like, I'm just going to hire someone to do this. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's literally a 5-minute job. So you're going to go through all the effort of finding someone, paying someone, signing up to their books, having a minimum package, whatever it is, for something that's just going to take 5 minutes. So, yes, it's a freaking hard learning curve to go onto Canva and create your own little logo. Yes, it is a learning curve to create a website yourself, right? Yes, you're going to have to Google a lot, but it's worth it, because then you learn some of the basics of the things that are actually going to really support you in your business moving forward, and to ensure that you do not get ripped off down the line. So I wouldn't invest in, logos, fancy graphic design, branding. I would not invest in business cards. I've literally never used these business cards. I just threw them in the bin in the end. So I wouldn't invest in any of that. I would bootstrap that, because that is all stuff you can learn and do yourself. Canva makes everything so easy these days. The technology that we have these days, I use Kartra. You'll see down the bottom, you can get a 30-day trial of Kartra. It's just got templates that you can be like, boom, I'll have a homepage, thanks. Boom, I'll have a sales page, thanks. And you just go in and change the text. So much easier today than what it used to be. I also wouldn't invest in fancy photography. So, something you may not know about me, I mean, I love photo shoots. I didn't have a professional photo shoot for like years and years and years. I had my first professional photos done in 2022. All the photos that I had done before that were me taking photos of myself, like setting up a self timer and then quick. So I would have one of my kids' big teddy bears there so it could get the focus right. And then I would do self timer. I would literally throw the teddy really quickly out of the frame and sit where the teddy was, and then have like a cup of coffee and pretend that I was laughing or whatever it was. And then I would just go sit there for like an hour or something, keep pressing 10 timer. And I did it to like a 10 photo burst. And so I'd sit there and be like, try all these different facial expressions while it went beep, 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 and took 10 photos. So likewise, if I was bootstrapping it, it's not something that I would invest in from the start. So, what would I invest in if I was starting my business? So, and one of the biggest things, because Launch Easy Life is a program that is centered around creating and launching your own signature program, which is, inevitably going to be something that has a big online course or group coaching flavor, you're going to want a course platform. So I see so many people, like I have so many conversations with people when we're launching this program around, well, what is the cheapest course software? Wrong question. If you're committed to your success, if you're like, you know what, I'm going to have a successful business, course software. So I use Kartra, in my opinion, absolute best. Again, you can get a 30-day trial if you look at the show notes of this podcast, because it's an all in one platform, like the functionality and the reporting that it has next level. And the base level of Kartra, I think, is like $100 a month. So if you look at that at a yearly basis, and there's obviously usually discounts when you pay for things yearly, let's say it's $1,000. And you're like, that's too expensive. I'm like, surely you're intending at some point to make more than $1,000 per year in your business and having the right software. So I'm calling it longevity software for the purpose of this podcast, software that is going to last. So, sure, if you want to bootstrap it, I love MailerLite as an email platform. But if you're just trying to go for the cheapest option all the time, you're going to end up doing things the long way around. Your business, it's going to look like piecing lots of things together all the time. It's going to look like, so another example is like Wix websites, or another website builder that I don't love is you do WordPress plus Elementor. It's slow and it's hard and it's clunky. So it ends up building your website so much harder than it needs to be, because you're building it with software that is inevitably hard to use because it's free. So when we look at something like online course software, I'm like, surely you're intending to make more than $1,000 in your business. Ideally, if you were in your first year of coaching business, I would be aiming myself for like $25,000 to $50,000. So in my business, I think in my first year of business, I made $89,000, which brings me to the next thing that I would invest in. Do you want me to tell you a huge mistake that I made in my business of something I didn't invest in my business in the early days? Accounting software. So I am now in the position, so I had this mix of, I had a little bit of Excel spreadsheets at one point, then I started using Wave apps, then Wave apps cancelled all of their Australian support and now just only support clients in the United States and Canada. So I couldn't use that software anymore. Then like it was just so clunky. So I actually cannot. And then what happened was the business bank account that I had, they decided they were no longer going to support business bank accounts. So because I didn't have QuickBooks from the start, so that's what I use. My husband uses Xero. I'm going to put it out there. I probably prefer QuickBooks because I did not use QuickBooks account from the start of running my business, which it's another expense. Yes, they sign you up for like these, like 6 months at 50% because it's such a freaking pain in the ass to switch. So they know that if they basically give you a membership for free for 6 months, you're not going to change. They're secured. They've got all the revenue from you for the longest time. And so if I had my time again, if I was starting my business again, or even if you've started your business and you're like, it's time to get serious, I would not do Excel spreadsheets. I would sign up for QuickBooks from the start, because I can't tell you with any real certainty what the revenue in my business was for the first several years. How bad is that? So there was a point when I was like, I made 6 figures in my first year. And then I went back and tried to piece as much of it as I could. And I can get to 89,000, but I can't see all of the transactions, because also I was doing things like one-to-one coaching, freelancing with clients, and that was just coming straight into my bank account. And I can't now see, because the bank that I was with, and I guess because I wasn't really that good at keeping records, I actually can't verify that. So now I have a different claim. And that's the reason why, is because I actually can't tell you the exact figures that I made in my online business because all the records were janky. So I would invest in longevity software, great bookkeeping software. So I invest in QuickBooks, and then your email course platform, etc. I would not always be looking for the cheapest option. Of course, you can change. Of course, you can do it. It's just a hassle. But I would not be deterred by paying $100 a month for my software. The other thing I would invest in is the professional version of Canva. It's so good. You can do background remover. You have access to so many more photos. You can access magic resize on that. And you're going to be looking at about $150 per year for Canva. I'd also invest in good website hosting. So I use Digital Pacific. Their support team is next level. They back up my website automatically every 4 hours. It's really easy to navigate and install WordPress. And then I have Kartra. The page builder in Kartra is okay, but Thrive Themes is like next level. I've never seen anything like it in terms of page builders. It's so quick and so easy to build your website. So that's what I would be investing in is longevity software. And then if there were bits and pieces that I didn't understand that I really wanted to learn. So let's say I didn't understand Instagram, or I was trying on Instagram and I just wasn't getting any results. If there were short courses or small programs, that's what I would invest in. So, one of the big changes that I made this year was we limited the Well Conceived Mastermind to people who are making around 2K per month in their business. So, you want to be making either $20,000 ish per year or about $2,000 per month in your business, and have maybe you've had 3 consistent months of about $2,000 in your business. And this is the reason why I did that. I didn't do it because I thought it was a good marketing move. Every year in the Well Conceived Mastermind, probably 75% of the people who have wanted to join the Well Conceived Mastermind are people who have been at the beginner stages of business. And, I'm really seeing you and hearing you if this is you. And they're like, you know what? It's so hard to figure out what to do on Instagram, how to build a website, how to put together all of the beginning pieces. And so people have willingly wanted to invest that. I've been very clear about these are your income and revenue expectations, but I want to be able to dive into advanced topics like Facebook ads, and you're just not going to be ready to do that in the early stages of something like the Well Conceived Mastermind. It's a significant investment. I think that you're so much better off investing in smaller courses and learning the basics of business, learning how to go on Instagram, sitting there and figuring out how to build your website and just getting started, putting the action in, putting together something like your first lead magnet. And this is also one of the reasons why I created Launch Easier Life, is because it's a lower investment and we cover so much of that more beginner stuff. So it's also suitable for you if you have a big business, because you're going to learn a lot more about consumer psychology, about launching, about your launch timelines, about how to grow your launches. But it's also suitable for you if you're at the more beginner stages of the business, because you're also going to learn in that program how to create your first lead magnet. What would your lead magnet page on your website look like? What would you put in your first email nurture sequence or your launch email sequence? How would you put together an offer and a package? So, all of those things. And so that's why it's a lower investment than something like the Well Conceived Mastermind. So, if you're at the beginning stages of your business, don't invest in, fancy logos. Don't get other people to build your websites, but do invest in longevity software and online courses that you'll have lifetime access to, so that you can go at your own pace and you don't feel like you're under pressure to have your whole business together, because a learning curve, sometimes it takes time, sometimes there's stopping and starting, sometimes you're running, a part-time job at the same time. So that's what I would recommend in the early stages. So now let's say that you are someone who you've figured out Instagram, you've bootstrapped, you've put together programs, you've done launches. Then what do you invest in then? So at that point, so maybe you're at 2K per month, 5K per month, 10K per month, whatever. And you're like, what next? Now, you can invest in a one-to-one coach. I used to be a one-to-one coach girly all the time. I used to always want a one-to-one coach. Then my one-to-one coach at the time was like, I think you really need to try a mastermind. come into my mastermind, and the investment in the mastermind for 1 whole year was the same investment as 6 months of her one-to-one coaching. So I was like, okay. And ever since then, honestly, I'm a mastermind girl. At a certain point in business, once you're earning a particular amount of revenue, I really see the benefit and the value of having strategic support. So I don't mean coaching where someone's like, what do you want to do? Like, lean into your intuition. What do you think your next move is? Like, coaching is helping people find their own answer. No, there's a certain point where you actually want someone to tell you what the answer is. And I really see value in, once you've got going, once you've put things out there, once you've tried, failed, tried, succeeded, etc., having almost like that bespoke review of that. Someone to look over landing pages, someone to go through and help you review your launches, someone to help you start being a grown up in your business and putting together strategic 90-day plans and strategic full year plans. So there's that real time when it's like, okay, well, I'm ready for the next step for consistent revenue. Now it's time for me to do that. So that's where I absolutely see benefit in that more bespoke, more, what is the word? Like two-way conversation that is unique to you, but also having this ability to be able to network and learn from other business owners and what's working for them. So when I think of masterminds and things like hot seat calls or Slack channels, if you have a one-to-one coach, it's like having the wisdom, insight, results, failures, successes, etc., from one person. When you're in a mastermind and you're in that kind of room, it's like having the wisdom, insight of 8 people or whatever that might be. So it's just such accelerated learning. And then it's not just all the questions you think of, it's all the questions that they've thought of that secretly you have but didn't realize that you had as well. So I recommend, instead of at a more advanced level, instead of investing in course after course after course, and courses may still have their place in your business, but really looking at, where is my business going to benefit most in terms of a return on investment? And is that not going to come from continuing to invest in mostly self-led experiences? Do I really want that nitty-gritty support in my business and feedback in what I'm doing at a strategic level, and not necessarily from a coaching perspective? So then when you're at a more advanced level, this is also what I would invest in. Still don't know, until things were at a consistent level at a revenue that I felt really good about. I actually still don't know whether I would invest loads of money in a photographer. I would get like a couple of branding shots. A lot of photographers now are doing these express days where they're serving multiple people on a day. So definitely I think you want some branding photos at that point. But what I would really be doing is I'd be going through my launches, my audience generation, my funnel. I'd be setting some really basic goals or KPIs in my business, or like benchmarks. Benchmarks is the best word. And looking at that and then saying, what's the missing link? Like, what is the weakest link in this piece? And where am I going to be best served next? And the spoiler alert is that for many of you, the weakest link is generating fresh leads into your business. Like, you're not doing a terrible job at growing your audience on social media or whatever. You're not doing a terrible job at launching, probably not doing a terrible job at many things. But what you are not doing well enough is generating enough email subscribers, new email subscribers. So I've seen some other people online talk about, like, your launch will convert at 1 to 2% of your entire audience. And I'm like, on what planet? Your existing email list, I always allow for approximately 20% of your existing email list to opt into any particular launch or promotion that you have. And then the rest should be people who are joining from other areas. So if you're not that great at maths, but if you want 1,000 leads in your business so that you can make 10 sales, which is a 1% conversion rate, you can assume that maybe 200 people from your existing email list might opt into your launch, but then you want another 800 fresh people as part of your launch campaign who are coming from your social media, who are coming from podcast interviews, who are coming from things like Facebook ads. The majority of people who are listening to this podcast right now, if you're currently making whatever, $2,000 to $10,000 per month, and you've just heard that and you're like, there is no way I would be getting 800 new leads between launches into my email list, because I told you I guarantee that that was the problem. It's a leads problem. It's not an offer problem. It's not a sales problem. By and large, the majority of business owners that I work with, if you have a launch or launches that you're wanting to grow that maybe aren't as successful as you want them to be, you've probably got a leads problem. So when we speak to invest in this, not that, the thing that you want to invest in is possibly advertising, because that's one of the most guaranteed ways that you are going to be able to reach your launch targets is through advertising. And then associated with that, learning how to advertise well, not just slapping some ads out there. And maybe you have tried to invest in Facebook ads before and they were rubbish. Maybe that's because you didn't learn how to do it properly. So if you don't know how to create high converting, low cost ads with the right audience, then it's time to also invest in learning how to do that, because there comes a time in the majority of business owners' business journeys when Facebook ads are a necessity in order to grow and scale to the level that you are aspiring to. So I probably still would not invest in like big teams or fancy branding or any of that still before investing in adequate lead generation. And sometimes you're going to need something like a mastermind or a higher level experience in order to support you in ironing out the kinks in your business. Then when you have really great and consistent revenue coming through, by all means, get a giant photo shoot, get a fancy website, go and get yourself all of those other things that you probably want. Absolutely, you might have a virtual assistant, but not going through and just hiring and hiring and hiring people, because that's also a headache and takes a lot of time in your business. So that's my episode today. Just the biggest reminder that we have a sale coming up. It's starting on the 20th of May, 5 deals in 5 days. And here's the spoiler alert, it's going to be centered around ways to grow your audience and build your leads. I think I've given away too much. Starts on the 20th of May. Really great deals, offers that are not usually available for the public, but you want to be on my email list and definitely following me on Instagram as well. If you want to get on my email list, just send me a message on Instagram that says grow and we'll hook you up, and we'll also hook you up with a really great freebie too. All right, that's enough from me. Have the best day, and I cannot wait to catch you next week.
Well, that's Well Conceived Business for this week, done and on the books. Let's connect at Robyn Birkin on Instagram to keep the conversation going.